A millionaire paid for one night. But when he touched her, he realized she was still a virgin. Winter rain poured down on Los Angeles as if the sky itself was emptying all its sorrow onto the earth. Heavy drops struck against the glass wall of the 45th floor, playing a mournful tune that Nathan Hale had grown far too familiar with. He stood motionless before the towering window, his eyes vacant, gazing at the city still glittering with lights. Los Angeles never slept, but his heart had been asleep for a very long time. Nathan Hale, the genius of media, the man who built an empire worth more than $500 million before turning 40. That was how the magazines praised him. Yet every time he closed the glossy pages, he saw nothing but a lonely figure in an oversized apartment, with no one to call home to. He exhaled softly and whispered to himself, "Success, fame, fortune. But what did I lose in return?" The echo of his own voice in the cold room sounded almost foreign to him. The door cracked open. Clara, his personal assistant, peeked inside, her tone gentle. "Do you need anything else, Mr. Hale?" Nathan turned slightly, his gaze detached. "No, you should go. It's late. Your family must be waiting." Clara gave a faint smile, nodded, and closed the door. Silence reclaimed the space. Nathan loosened his Italian silk tie and walked toward the minibar. He poured a glass of aged whiskey, the companion that carried him through endless nights. On his wrist, a vintage watch, a reward he had given himself after landing his very first $1 million contract. Read 13 minutes to 10. The night was still young, but his spirit already felt drained. On the desk lay a half-finished manuscript, only a few messy lines scattered across the paper. The blank pages mocked him, daring him to continue. Nathan sank into his leather chair, head tilted back, eyes shut. For a fleeting second, he thought he heard the laughter of his late wife, light and distant, echoing through the hollow apartment. 3 years had passed since the accident, but the wound inside him had never healed. He opened his eyes again, staring at the city below. The lights blinked extravagantly, yet felt foreign. In the stillness, a quiet thought slipped out of his lips. Maybe it's time for something different, something that neither money nor fame could ever buy. That night, Nathan had no idea that this vague longing would soon lead him to a fateful encounter, one that would change the course of his life forever. 30 minutes later, a sleek gray Bentley glided through Los Angeles's rain-slicked streets, stopping in front of Aurora, a high-end jazz club nestled in the heart of West Hollywood. It was a gathering place for the wealthy, celebrities, and power brokers. Nathan knew it far too well. Every corner of it had become painfully predictable. The doorman recognized him instantly, hurrying to open the car door with a polished smile. "Good evening, Mr. Hale." Nathan gave a brief nod and stepped out without sparing a glance around. Inside, warm golden lights spilled over polished wooden tables, while the saxophone's velvety notes filled the room. Women in dazzling gowns laughed. Men in Armani suits lifted their crystal glasses of wine. It was a scene of luxury, yet for Nathan, it felt like a performance replayed endlessly, stripped of meaning. He headed toward the bar, intent on ordering a scotch and leaving after a few minutes. But then his eyes swept across the crowd and stopped. She was there, sitting alone. It wasn't her beauty, though she was undeniably striking with chestnut hair falling softly around a delicate face and wide, unguarded eyes. What held Nathan captive was the sense of displacement. She sat upright, but with tense shoulders, as if she did not belong in this room. Her gaze did not seek attention. It scanned cautiously, as though weighing every detail. She wore a simple black dress, elegant yet understated. Among the designer ensembles glittering under chandeliers, her simplicity drew more light than any sparkle could. Nathan felt something stir inside him, not the familiar desire of a man used to wealth and power. No, it was closer to a half-forgotten memory, something long buried in him. Before he could unravel it, his feet had already moved. He took the seat beside her, his voice low and smooth, like the whiskey he favored. "May I buy you a drink?" She turned, startled. For a fleeting second, Nathan saw fear flicker in her eyes. Then it vanished behind a small, guarded smile. "Yes, a martini, if you don't mind." Nathan signaled to the bartender, then leaned slightly toward her, his gaze unwavering. "You're not from Los Angeles." She sipped, nodded gently. "My name is Isabella, but most people call me Bella." "Nathan," he replied, extending his hand. Her hand was small, yet rough in a way that felt out of place here, unlike the soft palms too accustomed to crystal glasses. Their conversation began with surface questions. Bella deftly dodged anything personal, yet she showed genuine curiosity about life in the city. There was no starry-eyed awe, no dreamy look, none of the admiration Nathan was so accustomed to receiving. Instead, there was caution, a deliberate distance, an invisible wall she kept firmly in place. And strangely, that very wall only made her more magnetic. Nathan found himself unable to look away. Nathan rested his elbow on the bar, studying the woman beside him. Bella sipped her martini in small, measured gulps, her fingers gripping the glass tighter than necessary. He noticed instantly. This was not someone accustomed to glittering rooms or half-truth conversations. "You don't usually come to places like this, do you?" Nathan asked, his tone gentle yet certain. Bella froze for a moment. He caught the flicker of unease across her face before she forced a strained smile. "And why do you think that?" He shrugged. "The way you sit, the way your eyes scan the room. People familiar with the spotlight don't carry that much caution." Silence. Her gaze fell, clinging to the rim of her glass, as if she were battling whether to speak or remain quiet. At last, her voice slipped out, soft enough to nearly blend with the jazz humming in the background. "You're right. This is the first time I've ever stepped into a place like this." Nathan nodded slowly. He did not feign surprise, nor did he rush her. His stillness gave Bella space, as though she simply needed someone to listen. "I'm not this kind of person." She hesitated, her eyes still avoiding his. "I wait tables at night, study during the day. But my brother, he's only 12. He has a rare heart condition. The doctors said without surgery, he won't make it more than 2 months." Nathan felt a tightening in his chest. He was used to negotiating million-dollar deals where numbers were just numbers. But this was desperation in its rawest form. Bella inhaled sharply, her voice trembling. "The surgery costs more than $200,000. Insurance won't cover it. I've worked, saved, done everything I could, but it's not enough. A friend told me, if I came to places like this, I might make in one night what I make in 3 months waiting tables." Nathan watched her. No pretenses, no rehearsed script. Just a young woman caught in a reality the outside world would never understand. His voice dropped, smooth as a whisper. "How much?" The question jolted her. She looked up, startled, her eyes wide. For a moment, Nathan thought she might bolt from her seat, but instead, she swallowed hard and whispered, $5,000. Nathan raised his brows. Not at the amount, but at the obvious discomfort of a woman unused to placing a price on herself. After a breath, he replied calmly, "No, $20,000. The bartender placed a fresh martini in front of Bella. She didn't touch it, only spun the stem lightly against the polished wood. Her eyes seemed unsettled, as though the numbers Nathan had spoken weighed heavier than the black dress draped over her shoulders. $20,000, Bella repeated, her voice a whisper, as if needing to confirm she'd heard correctly. Nathan nodded, gaze steady. Yes, for one night. No strings. Bella remained still. In that moment, Nathan could almost see the battle inside her. It wasn't just about money. It was dignity, the last shred of pride she was desperately holding on to. Finally, she drew a breath and shook her head gently. No, I can't take money like that. I don't need charity. If you truly want to help, give me a job. Nathan frowned, leaning closer. A job? Yes. I have a degree in business administration from a public university. I speak both English and Spanish. I work hard. I learn fast. Let me prove I'm worth that money. Treat it as an advance. For several seconds, Nathan said nothing. He studied her, eyes no longer damp, but burning with determination. He had met hundreds, thousands of people in the corporate world, men and women who knew how to flatter, how to negotiate, but very few carried this kind of fire. At last, Nathan smiled faintly, setting his scotch down. All right, I'll find you a position at Hale Media, but on one condition. Bella narrowed her eyes, her tone cautious. What condition? You still take the $20,000 tonight. Not as charity, but as an advance for the work you'll do. Silence settled between them. Bella studied him for a long time, as if trying to ensure he wasn't laying a trap. Slowly, she nodded. Okay. Deal. They shook hands. The handshake was no longer a transaction. It was a beginning. Nathan felt it clearly, through her small but firm grip, a connection sparking, something unfamiliar yet undeniable, something he hadn't felt in years of solitude. 3 weeks later, Bella Marquez officially joined Hale Media. She didn't report to the executive offices on the 47th floor, where Nathan Hale ran the empire, but was instead placed on the 14th floor, the Community Development Division, a new initiative the company had just launched. On her first day, Bella met Patricia Gomez, the department head, a sharp woman with stern eyes but a sincere smile. Patricia shook her hand and said, "Welcome to the team. I heard you were personally recommended by Mr. Hale. That means he sees potential in you. Prove him right." Bella nodded, her heart racing, a blend of nerves and determination. The work was far from easy. The main project under the division was called FutureLink, a pilot program aimed at distributing learning devices and providing internet access to underprivileged schools on the city's outskirts. Bella was assigned as a project assistant, which meant keeping track of everything: budgets, schedules, and teacher feedback. She arrived earlier than everyone and left later than anyone. Her desk quickly filled with handwritten notes, spreadsheets, and research materials. By day, she learned to read financial reports and monitor timelines. By night, she sat in her small apartment, studying project management guides. One evening, Patricia returned to the office around 8 o'clock and found Bella still at her desk. "You don't have to stay this late," Patricia frowned. Bella gave a tired smile. "I just want to make sure I don't miss anything." Patricia studied her, then nodded slightly. "I like that dedication. But remember, we need strength for the long road too." Within just a few weeks, Bella began leaving her mark. In a progress review of FutureLink, she spotted a small but crucial detail. Device deliveries were delayed due to an unnecessary inspection step. By streamlining the process, she saved nearly 2 weeks in the schedule. When Patricia presented the update at an internal meeting, everyone was surprised. Nathan received the summary report and left only one note for Patricia. "Give Bella more responsibility." Bella read the forwarded email and sat still for minutes. He hadn't appeared, hadn't spoken to her since that night at Aurora, yet he was watching from a distance. It made her feel both pressured and strangely unsettled. She pushed the feeling aside, forcing herself to focus solely on work. Day by day, Bella grew more confident in meetings, voicing her thoughts and suggesting improvements. Once, when asked why she believed an idea would succeed, Bella answered firmly, "Because I was one of those kids in schools like that. I know exactly what they need." The room fell silent. Patricia stared at her in surprise. Bella, cheeks slightly flushed, lowered her head to scribble notes. That kind of sincerity and seriousness gradually won the respect of the team. From a hesitant newcomer, she began to emerge as a steady presence. And deep down, Bella knew this was only the beginning. On a Friday afternoon, Bella was gathering her papers when Patricia placed a thick folder on her desk. "Next week, the Future Link project goes before the board of directors," Patricia said evenly, "and I want you to present it." Bella looked up, eyes wide. "Me? But I've only been here less than a month." "Exactly." Patricia gave a faint smile. "Mr. Hale wants to hear from a fresh perspective. He says you have something others don't." Bella's heart pounded. The thought of standing before the board on the 47th floor, facing rows of critical eyes, filled her with both excitement and dread. On Monday morning, the vast boardroom on the 47th floor unfolded before her. Glass walls revealed the whole of Los Angeles glittering under sunlight. A long walnut table stretched across the room, surrounded by senior executives with laptops open and pens ready. At the head sat Nathan Hale, silent, turning through the documents. He didn't look her way, but Bella could feel his presence nonetheless. She straightened her navy suit, inhaled deeply, and began. "The Future Link program is not simply about distributing learning devices." Her voice wavered at first, but quickly steadied. "It is about building a bridge between modern technology and the communities left behind." Slides revealed numbers and graphs, but it was Bella's delivery that hushed the room. She spoke of teachers struggling with chalkboards, of children yearning for internet access just to finish homework, of her own childhood in a neglected school on the city's edge. "When we invest in technology," she concluded, "we are not just investing in equipment, we are investing in the future of this country." A financial director frowned, cautiously asking, "I see the social value, but what about financial return? The company doesn't exist for charity alone." Bella didn't flinch. She clicked to the next slide, a scholarship and internship track for top students. "We're building our future workforce. They'll be loyal, innovative, and deeply rooted in their communities. That is long-term ROI." The room fell into silence. Nathan lifted his gaze, eyes fixed on her. In that moment, he saw not just a new hire, but a source of light breaking through. Finally, Nathan set his pen down and spoke in his calm, resonant voice. "The board approves the expansion of Future Link. Thank you, Bella, for your vision." As the others filed out, Nathan remained, his tone softened. "Stay a moment." Bella froze, heart racing. He flipped back to her last slide. The scholarship and internship plan. It wasn't in the original proposal. Bella bit her lower lip, her nervous habit. I added it last night. I thought the board needed a stronger reason to believe. Nathan studied her for a few seconds, then smiled faintly. You don't need to apologize for good ideas. A pause lingered. Coffee? Bella blinked in surprise. Right now? Unless you have other plans. She hesitated, then nodded. All right, let me grab my coat. The board meeting had ended with a casual invitation for coffee, but it wasn't a closing line. If anything, it marked a shift. After that first conversation outside the rigid frame of business, Nathan seemed intent on narrowing the invisible distance between them. A few days later, Bella received a short message from him. Saturday, 8 o'clock in the morning, main lobby. Join me for a FutureLink field visit. She read it 3 times, surprise tightening in her chest. Normally, a CEO would send a monitoring team. Rarely did they go themselves. The fact that Nathan wanted to see the project with his own eyes and wanted her there left her both anxious and quietly excited. That morning, Bella entered the lobby of Hale Media. Nathan was already waiting beside a sleek black SUV. No entourage, no bodyguards. He wore a plain white shirt under a dark jacket. So simple it startled her. "You're really coming on the visit with me?" she asked, half doubting. "I don't trust polished reports," Nathan said, his voice steady. "I need to see for myself, and I need someone who understands the project from the ground up." The car pulled away, leaving the gleaming towers behind as they headed east. Out the window, Bella watched the glamorous skyline fade into crowded streets, peeling paint and windows draped with torn curtains. Her chest tightened. "I grew up in a place like this," Bella murmured, almost to herself. Nathan said nothing, but he heard every word. The school they arrived at was an aging middle school. Long hallways, chipped paint, half-closed classroom doors. Inside one room, a few new FutureLink tablets were being passed from hand to hand. Children crowded around the single desk connected to the internet, their eyes glowing as if an entirely new world had opened to them. Bella crouched beside a group of students, asking softly, "What do you like most about having these devices?" A boy shouted, "I can look up pictures of space." A girl whispered shyly, "Now I can do homework like the kids in the rich schools." Bella smiled, nodding, her hand resting gently on the girl's shoulder in encouragement. Nathan stood behind, quietly observing. For the first time, he saw Bella in her true element. Not a new hire in a tailored suit, but a woman who blended into this space, bridging the company's work with the people who needed it most. A middle-aged teacher approached, shaking Nathan's hand. "Thank you, Hale Media, for giving these kids a chance. We've waited too long." Nathan nodded, answering humbly, "We're only just beginning. I want to see the real impact myself, so I'll know how far we need to go." The look in the teacher's eyes, the light in the children's faces, they carried pure hope. Nathan paused, struck. This wasn't about numbers, contracts, or reports anymore. This was real life. And somehow Bella had opened his eyes to it. On the way back, Bella assumed they were heading straight to the office. But Nathan pulled over by a bustling street market. "Have you ever tried the tacos here?" Bella asked, spotting a familiar food stand. Nathan glanced at the small stall, hesitating. "No, CEOs don't usually," Bella laughed. "Then today you should." Minutes later, they stood at the curb, each holding a warm taco. Nathan, in his crisp shirt, took the first bite and burst into laughter. "This is honestly better than a 5-star restaurant." Bella watched him, seeing a different Nathan, not the distant CEO on the 47th floor, but a man, ordinary, approachable, capable of laughter. And in that moment, the wall between them quietly began to fade. Later that afternoon, as Nathan drove Bella back toward her old apartment in East Los Angeles, she hesitated, then turned to him and spoke softly. "Would you like to meet my little brother?" I told him a bit about the project, and he's been so excited. Nathan was surprised. It was the first time Bella had opened a door into her private world. He simply nodded. "I'd be honored." Bella's apartment sat on the third floor of a worn-down building, its hallway narrow and dim, the faint smell of peeling paint lingering. But inside, the space was tidy, warm. The walls were covered with drawings of rockets, planets, and playful sketches. "Diego!" Bella called, her voice a mix of tenderness and excitement. A thin boy with messy hair and shining eyes rushed out. "You're home!" Then his gaze shifted curiously toward Nathan. "Diego, this is Mr. Hale," Bella introduced. "He's the founder of FutureLink." The boy's eyes widened as he stepped closer, words tumbling out. "Really? I read in the papers that Hale Media supports schools. I want to be a rocket engineer. Can I tell you about my rocket project?" Nathan smiled and lowered himself to the floor, meeting Diego at eye level. "Of course. Show me." Diego pulled out a makeshift rocket built from cardboard tubes and scraps of plastic. Clumsy as it was, he explained every detail with bright enthusiasm. The cockpit, the boosters, even a mini launch pad built from an old box. Nathan listened carefully, asking serious questions, nodding at times as though he were attending an important project briefing. Bella stood nearby, watching quietly. A rare smile spread across her face, one she hadn't felt in years. After a while, Diego dashed off to fetch more drawings, leaving the two adults alone in the tiny kitchen. Bella lowered her voice. "He has almost no one but me. Our father left when he was little. Our mother passed early. I promised I would protect him no matter what." Nathan glanced around the apartment, taking in the worn furniture, the patched-up chairs, the messy shelf stacked with books. Not luxurious, but full of effort and love. He answered softly, "And you have. It's clear he looks up to you." Bella lowered her gaze, her voice thick with emotion. "I just want him to have the chances I never did." Just then, Diego ran back with a large sheet covered in symbols and sketches. Nathan and Bella bent over as he explained his spaceship to Mars. Nathan chuckled, not at the boy, but at the pure, unshakable belief lighting up the room. When it was time to leave, Diego hugged Bella tightly and whispered a shy goodbye to Nathan. His eyes carried a spark of newfound trust. Bella walked Nathan to the door and murmured, "Thank you for not dismissing his dreams." Nathan looked straight into her eyes. "They're not just dreams. They're the future." And for the first time, Bella no longer saw Nathan as a distant CEO, but as a man willing to kneel down and listen. The weeks that followed seemed calm. Bella buried herself in her work at Hale Media, while Diego grew increasingly attached to Nathan during his weekend visits. To the boy, Nathan was no longer the powerful CEO from the magazines, but a friend willing to sit for hours listening to stories about rockets and Mars. But the calm did not last. One Tuesday evening, while Bella was reviewing FutureLink budgets at the small cafe where she worked nights, her phone rang frantically. On the other end was a panicked neighbor. "Bella, Diego, he collapsed. He couldn't breathe. I called an ambulance. They've taken him to Cedars-Sinai Medical Center." Bella's body went numb. She rushed out of the cafe, flagged a taxi, and sped straight to the hospital. When she arrived, Diego was already in the emergency room, his small frame tangled in wires and breathing tubes. A doctor emerged, voice heavy. His heart is failing. We're doing everything to stabilize him, but he needs artificial heart surgery within 2 months, maybe sooner. The cost is over $200,000. Without it, there will be no chance. Bella staggered onto a chair, burying her face in her hands. Every effort she had made, every hour she had fought for, crumbled under the weight of that number. Her phone buzzed again. Nathan, his voice urgent. I heard. You're at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center, right? I'm on my way. In less than 15 minutes, Nathan arrived, his shirt still wrinkled from a long day. Bella couldn't hold herself back. She fell into his arms, sobbing uncontrollably. Nathan said nothing, only tightened his grip on her shoulders, letting her tears soak into his clothes. That night, Nathan sat with her in the hospital corridor. He offered no empty promises, only presence, steady, silent, grounding. By dawn, his eyes were bloodshot, but his voice was unwavering. We won't let Diego fall into a dead end. I'll take care of it. The next morning, Nathan called an emergency meeting with Hale Media's leadership. The room stilled as he rose, voice deep and resolute. We are establishing an emergency fund to support employees with critically ill family members. I want it called the Hope Bridge Fund, and it begins today. One director whispered, You mean, for Bella? Nathan answered firmly without hesitation, starting with her, but not ending there. This is our human responsibility. By the end of that day, papers were signed, the fund officially launched. Diego became the very first recipient, his entire surgery and post-operative care covered. When Bella heard the news, she stood frozen, tears streaming once more, but this time not from despair. She choked out, I don't even know what to say. Nathan shook his head gently, his eyes soft. Then don't. Just let me be here. And in that moment, Bella realized what she once thought was just a transaction, $20,000 for a chance, had transformed into something infinitely greater. Diego's surgery lasted more than 8 hours. Bella sat in the corridor, her hands clasped so tightly they turned white. Nathan sat right beside her, one hand resting gently on her back, never leaving for even a minute. When the doors finally opened, the surgeon stepped out, removed his mask, and smiled. The operation was successful. The artificial heart is functioning well. Diego is a very strong boy. Bella broke down in tears, this time in pure relief. Nathan wrapped his arms around her, letting her bury her face against his shoulder. For him, that moment was worth more than any multi-million-dollar contract. In the weeks that followed, Diego recovered at a surprising pace. 2 weeks after surgery, he was sitting up, eating porridge, even joking that his new heart would help him run faster to Mars. Nathan visited every single day. He brought science books, puzzles, sometimes just pizza and a smile. Bella gradually realized he wasn't coming as a CEO, but as a man who truly wanted to be there. One Sunday afternoon, when Diego was moved into a regular room, Nathan sat by his bed, listening intently as the boy spoke endlessly about the stars. Bella stood in the corner, cradling a warm paper cup, her heart quietly stirring at the sight. That evening, Nathan suggested, Next weekend, I want to take both of you out. A park, a picnic, no offices, no hospitals, just fresh air. Bella hesitated. Are you sure? Diego's still weak. We'll take it slow. I'll handle it. His steady eyes left her with no room to refuse. The day arrived with an unusually clear sky. Griffith Park glowed with sunlight and a breeze of spring. Nathan had prepared a blanket, a basket of sandwiches clumsily wrapped but sincere, lemonade, and a few small science toys for Diego. The boy was so excited he forgot about the scars on his chest. Bella sat down beside Nathan, smiling at his awkward attempt to open the food containers. "You made these yourself?" She laughed. "First time in my life. Might be a bit salty." "As long as there's dessert, I'll forgive you," Bella teased, making Nathan laugh warmly. The picnic unfolded in laughter. Diego spoke about the planet he would one day name, while Bella rested her head briefly on Nathan's shoulder, eyes closed, soaking in peace she hadn't felt in years. As the sun dipped low, casting golden light across the grass, Nathan gently took her hand. The touch made her look up, his eyes locked on hers, voice low but tender. "For 3 years, I thought I'd lost everything, but today, sitting here, it feels like I've found a family again." Bella remained silent, her eyes shimmering, and in that moment, she knew what had blossomed between them was no longer gratitude, but something far deeper, far more real. Love. News of Nathan Hale and Bella Marquez's relationship spread quickly. After the picnic at Riverside, they began appearing together more often, sometimes at a small cafe in the neighborhood, sometimes on a quiet walk with Diego. To bystanders, they looked like a family gently taking shape. But the media didn't see it that way. Just 3 days after rumors began, a tabloid exploded with a glaring headline: "CEO Nathan Hale engaged to former call girl?" The article cited an inside source, claiming Nathan had met Bella at Aurora, and that night, she wasn't there merely for a martini. Alongside was a blurry photo of Bella entering the club in the rain. The internet ignited. Comments flooded in. "She's using the rich CEO. And they call this a fairy tale? No one believes this is real love." In the small apartment, Bella sat silently reading every word. She didn't cry, only felt a cold hollowness spread through her chest. Diego played innocently in the next room, unaware that the world outside was condemning his sister. Nathan entered, his face tense. His phone buzzed nonstop with messages from PR and legal teams. "I'll sue them, every single one," he said firmly. Bella shook her head, her voice trembling. "No, Nathan. I don't want to hide behind lawsuits. I don't want people to think you shield me just because of your power." "Then what do you want?" She lifted her gaze, steadier than ever. "I want to speak, just once, the truth. No dodging." The next day, Bella stood before dozens of cameras. No heavy makeup, no glamorous dress, just herself, hair tied back, eyes unwavering. "No one needs to ask if I was at Aurora that night," she began, voice clear. I was desperate. My brother needed surgery. I thought I could trade myself for money. It was the hardest choice of my life." Cameras flashed wildly, but Bella did not flinch. That night, Nathan Hale did not buy me. He asked if I needed help, and he believed I was worth a real chance. I worked at Hale Media like any other employee. I proved myself. I am not ashamed of my past, but I am proud that I did not let it define my future. For a moment, silence hung heavy. Then, unexpectedly, applause rose from the back row. Within hours, her speech went viral across social media. The hashtag #RStandWithBella topped national trends, shared by thousands. Female journalists wept on air reading her words. That evening, as Nathan held Bella's hand in the glare of camera flashes, he said only one line to reporters: "She is the strongest woman I have ever known." After the stormy press conference, Nathan and Bella slipped away from the flashing lights. That night, they sat quietly together in the small apartment. Nathan studied Bella for a long moment, then rose suddenly and pulled a small velvet box from his pocket. He opened it, revealing a simple ring that gleamed like sunrise. His voice was deep, steady, yet full of emotion. "Bella, you came into my life like a storm, but you left the sun behind. I can't promise perfection, but I promise to stay, to hold your hand, to walk with you through every turn. Will you marry me?" Bella froze, her heart racing, tears spilling before words could form. Diego, sitting beside them, gasped and shouted with all his might, "Say yes, Bella, say yes!" Through her tears, Bella laughed, turned to Nathan, and whispered, "Yes." Nathan pulled her into his arms as Diego jumped and twirled around them, yelling, "We're finally a real family." The wedding took place a few weeks later in a small outdoor garden. It was not lavish, not grand, just rows of white chairs beneath green trees, fresh flowers scattered around, and sunlight falling gently through the leaves. Diego, dressed in a neat gray suit, carried the ring box with such solemnity that the guests burst into warm laughter. When Bella walked toward Nathan in her simple white gown, silence fell. Nathan held her hand, slid the ring onto her finger, his voice trembling but resolute. "From this day, I promise to be the home you return to." Applause and muffled sobs filled the air. Bella smiled through tears and answered softly, "And I promise we'll never let go of each other's hands." And the story closes with one simple truth. This family was not formed by bloodlines or circumstance. They found each other in the storm, and it was love and trust that made them stay.